Okay, here we go with lesson 8 for the tax preparation class. And I'm going to go without a script today because the reading is relatively brief, and we'll talk about what we can say about it and write about it as you finish up your lesson. First of all, we're to read the alternative minimum tax, which is 2 pages, page 36 and 37. And it includes a number of issues. I would take note of the very last issue. If you do use alternative minimum tax, you're not entitled to any, or if you use the deductions, not standard deductions, the itemized deductions, you're not allowed to use the personal standard deductions. So one or the other. Okay, and then in addition, on page 34, a little further back in the reading, there was a chart there with a summary, and if you take a look at the last 2 columns of that summary, it lists the carry back and carry forward provisions for various miscellaneous items in the tax code, and they wanted you to take a look at that separately. We kind of ignored it the last time through, and it's just either a number of years one could carry forward or back, and or a dot indicating you can't do that at all. And notice most of them dotted. They are not carry forward, carry back items. Okay, that is the entire reading for the lesson. Our goals for this lesson were to understand the calculation of alternative minimum tax liability, and that involves using the formula presented on page 36, and list the types of tax credits, which we did in an earlier lesson. We should be able to give examples of each tax credit and define a refundable credit, which is you get money back from the government, essentially a negative income tax of sorts. Finally, in our discussion questions for this chapter, we, number 1, discuss the purpose of the alternative minimum tax. And again, this was established by Congress to cover what was perceived to be an injustice of people not paying taxes in a given year because of various so-called loopholes, tax deductions. The interesting part about these loopholes is they don't actually forgive you the tax, they just allow you to reallocate it to a later time slot. But this escapes the average man, and the average man and woman are the ones who vote, so Congress undertook an alternative minimum tax. Really stupid idea, pardon my opinion, but yes. Number 2, define and explain the terms adjustment and preferences on the alternative minimum tax formula. And this is the heart of the issue here. So as you read through it, you will see what they mean by that, adjustment and preference. Number 3, discuss the tax benefit of credits compared to deductions of expenses. In many cases, these, of course, are equivalent, but a credit is actually reduction in the tax itself. A deduction from expenses is a deduction from income, and that income is then taxed at whatever the given rate is. The result is that tax credits are more effective. They save you more money than expenses, which are partly tax deductible. We deduct them from income, okay, but we don't deduct them from taxes, which makes a real difference. And finally, number 4, discuss the types of general business tax credit and their application. And we've been going over that for the last 2 lessons, I believe. A variety of business tax credits, for instance, taxes paid out of state, overpayment of taxes. There's a lot of other tax credits allowable under the code, and all of them are covered in the last few pages of the text material. So that concludes lesson 8. You've done a very good job. I had excellent answers throughout, A minuses and A's, and I see that your test scores are relatively good as well, so I'm looking forward to to assigning some good grades this term. Thank you, and we'll see you in taxation, federal taxation number 2 in the upcoming 8 weeks. Bye-bye.